Everyone, and welcome to the Season 1, Episode 3 of the Applied HE Squaring the Circle debate. My name is Mandy Mock, and I am the founder and CEO of Applied HE. Applied HE is the new kid on the block as an international higher education service provider that specializes in evaluation, branding, and professional networking solutions. Thank you very much for joining episode 3 of the Applied HE Squaring the Circle debate webinar series, which has a total of 6 episodes that will take place monthly on the first Wednesday of every month until the end of the year. Today's Squaring the Circle debate with the motion, Higher Education Collaboration Can Heal Geopolitical Divides, is hosted by the City University of Hong Kong and led by the legendary debate master, Dr. Kevin Downing, who is the Secretary to Council and Court and Director of the Institutional Research Office. Kevin will be guiding today's debate with 4 outstanding speakers from different parts of the world, whom he will introduce shortly. For the series of Squaring the Circle debate, please allow me to thank the City University of Hong Kong for co-hosting and Indonesia's Universitas Airlangga for being the main sponsor. Now, without further ado, allow me to hand over to the very capable and always entertaining Dr. Kevin Downing.
Okay, thank you very much, Mandy. Many of you will be familiar with the format of these debates, but I'd just like to say a very warm welcome to all old friends and some new friends, and I hope you're going to enjoy the next hour or so. The format is as follows. Before I introduce our distinguished panelists, the format is we take a vote initially, and I'll give you 1 minute to vote. I'll put a poll up on your screen, and you just press a little radio button to decide how you're going to vote. Then we have 5-minute presentations from each of our panelists, beginning with the first proposer, then the first opposer, and I'll introduce them shortly, the second proposer, and the second opposer. And then I will open it up to all participants to make comment. I just warn the panelists that after 5 minutes, I'll mute your microphone, but I will ring a little bell when there's a minute to go. It's the power is just goes to my head being able to mute the microphone from here, but there you go. I'll ring the bell. That's to be fair to everyone else. And then for speakers, you say who you are, where you're from, whether you're speaking for or against, and then you have 10 sentences to make your point. It's not a question and answer session. You make your point, and then at the end of the debate, after 1 hour, we have another vote, and we see how open-minded or not you all are from around the globe. So I'm looking forward to seeing the result. It's always quite surprising, and it's certainly something quite exciting after all the comments have been made. So first of all, we're going to be debating higher education collaboration can heal geopolitical divides. Higher education collaboration can heal geopolitical divides. And I'm going to begin by introducing our proposers. The first proposer, and she will speak first, we're very pleased to have with us Dr. Janet Ilieva, who's director and founder of Education Insight of the United Kingdom. And I'm in Exeter in the United Kingdom, and she's just up the road at the moment in Bristol, not very far away from me. So welcome, Janet. After Janet, we have the second proposer, and second does not imply any inferiority in this debate. I'm pleased to welcome Professor Perry Hobson, who's Pro-Vice Chancellor for Engagement at Sunway University in Malaysia. So welcome to you, Perry. Thank you. And then opposers, we have all the way from Airlangga in Indonesia, we have Ms. Dian Ikowati, who's head of Airlangga Global Engagement at Universitas Airlangga in Indonesia. Thank you, terima kasih, for being with us, and welcome to you, Dr. Dian. And then last but not least, the second opposer is Prof. Sandeep Gopalan, who's the Vice Chancellor of Piedmont International University in the USA. So welcome to you too, Prof. Sandeep. You're very welcome. I look forward to hearing everyone's arguments. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we start, I'm going to make the poll available. I assume that I now have, yes, it appears like I have some sort of control. I'm going to give you 1 minute to vote, either agree or disagree on higher education collaboration can heal geopolitical divides, starting now. Looks very interesting so far. I won't tell you any details yet. So far, 20 people have voted. Come on, guys, there's more of you there. 21. I have 35 participants showing here, and we only have 21 votes, so you have 15 seconds. 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. I've now ended the polling. I'm going to share the results, which show that the agree side have a head start, 91%, against the disagree side, the opposers have only 9%. I'm sharing the results with you now. Okay, so opposers, you have an uphill battle. So let's see if you can redress that balance during the actual debate. So I'm going to begin now. Once we finish with the speakers, there's a little thing, little icon says raise hand. Anyone who then wants to speak, please click on that icon and I will unmute and get you on video so that you can make your point. So without further ado, I am going to move directly to our first proposer for the motion, and that is Dr. Janet Ilieva, Director and Founder of Education Insight United Kingdom. And Janet, your 5 minutes begins now.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Applied HE, for having me today to discuss such an important topic. And I think we probably will do terribly badly to lose the advantage of 91% here. But without any further ado, I shall go straight into my proposition. The world is becoming increasingly interconnected, and higher education cooperation is at the forefront of this development. It takes global effort to tackle global challenges. And to pursue this effectively, we need to rise above our differences. The current environment illustrates this. COVID pandemic, global recession, climate change, what a huge task for humanity. Defy them together or face them alone? Which one is the question for you? The most cited research is produced in multilateral collaborations, and impact increases with the increase in the number of collaborating countries, as a research from the UK's Royal Society shows. The proportion of internationally co-authored research has almost doubled over the past 2 decades, and this is evidenced by the charts that appears on my virtual background there. Despite the tense geopolitical climate, countries increased their proportion of international collaboration during the pandemic. And research carried out by University of Arizona's Jenny Lee shows that when measuring the volume of internationally co-authored articles, the USA and China collaborate more with each other than any other country. Nations that have been impacted more by the crisis, by the pandemic crisis, they tend to participate more in scientific collaboration than their counterparts, simply because they're directly affected Tensions between the USA and China, they have made international cooperation more challenging than it has been in the past. And previous research suggests that such tensions can slow the global recovery from COVID-19. In addition to research collaboration, teaching partnerships, and also known as transnational education, have enabled institutions and students to navigate geopolitical strains, often manifested in the shape of restrictive visa policies. Those working in academia know too well how damaging this is. And the damage is beyond us concerned. It means we all fail to act. And the challenge is still out there, left to someone else to solve. A quote that was given to me from Jeff Reidinger from the University of Washington for a paper I wrote at the time for the Australian International Education Conference, and I'm quoting directly, says, "The future of global engagement is about bringing down barriers." And I can't agree more. Everything that stands between the researcher and the researcher's problem, it has to come down. That's the only way to address it. There is no place for scientific nationalism in the important area that we do. The global race for vaccines, tackling climate change, widening inequalities, they're bigger than the squabbles between countries. Higher education establishments globally have a huge task, and only by standing together, we stand a chance to deal with it. Universities have been around for decades. Some have been around for centuries. Political transitions can be disruptive, but most governments' time in power is short-lived. Academia here is for the long term. Participation rates in higher education globally are increasing, and this signifies the growing reach of universities. Time is on our side. Which side are you on? And that's from me. I'm conscious I've got plenty of time, and for the sake of mathematical fairness, I'm passing on my left minute over to Perry. Only with Kevin's permission, obviously.
It's okay. I think what we'll do, Janet, that's very good. You were very succinct. Perry will have his chance in a moment. If you want to send him any further points before he speaks, you have 5 minutes while Dr. Diane begins her speech. So you can unmute now, Dr. Diane, and without further ado, I would like you to speak on behalf of the opposition. Thank you, Dr. Janet.
Thank you, Kevin. Good evening and also good day to everyone, wherever you are, and hope you are well. Thank you for the opportunity to present this idea in this SCD. I'm Dian Ekwati from Universitas Erlangga. In this debate, I would like to oppose the idea that higher education collaborations can heal geopolitical divides. In general, I do recognize that as part of academic community, higher education institutions have engaged with international collaboration. Surely, such collaborations will cross national borders and be exposed to different national policies and politics. Having recognized that, I believe that higher education collaborations cannot completely heal geopolitics between nations. There are some points I'd like to propose. First, we know that support from the government for global collaboration is crucial. Yet, some national policies might potentially limit the access for internationalizations and its benefits. There are examples, I believe, like Dr. Janet already mentioned, representing how one country's fear of threats from another countries has affected the policy of internationalizing higher education and limiting access to student mobility, even like flow of the knowledge through funding restrictions. In light of this, while the spirit of achieving global academic community remains strongly based on the values of mutual collaboration's benefit, instead of healing geopolitical divides, collaboration is more likely to be constrained by the geopolitical divides. Research by Merkinson in 2018 states that the university has no authority over states. Foreign policies supersedes the university policy. This will lead to my second point. While the collaborations between university may indicate good natural relations between states, it does not necessarily heal rifts between states or nations. University policies may not necessarily reflect the geopolitical strategies of the nations, yet it still has to stand side by side with the values, with the foreign policies that currently upholds by the nations. Distrust, security breach, or even potentials of loss of the intellectual property rights are some issues that widely discussed amongst this literature. Such issues, I believe, might hinder the intentions to collaborate. Thus, as a result of these geopolitical divides, collaborations might end up being heavily polarized and to some extent regionalized. My third argument relates to the idea that somehow higher education's collaborations and geopolitics actually runs on different engines. Similar to community or science community, higher education's collaborations, I do believe, possess the same trait of border-free competitions and communications. We know that the global collaborations has been used as an instrument of maintaining relationships among academics that frequently keep itself separate as a separate entity from geopolitics of nations or states. It is based on the mutual understanding that is universal in values of equality, opportunity, as well as respecting different academic backgrounds. In here, I would underline and cite Wagner, Park, and also Leidesdorff in 2015, stating that collaboration has grown for reasons different or independent of the needs and policies of the states. In general, I would like to emphasize that global academic community will always require the willing participations of the states. The positions of collaborating actors like us, including academic researchers, students, can always be voices that speaks for benefits that conducting higher education's collaborations. However, the success of academic exchange or collaborations or like international collaborations among universities from different nations do not guarantee the healing of geopolitical divides between states. To conclude, I can say that global collaboration should be maintained beyond political borders and forever be in search of greater collaborations that can support the developments of academic institutions. We should not be trapped into a naive step of healing geopolitics, the one that never been our intentions in creating global academic collaborations. I think that's all from me. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dian. That's a very, very interesting opposition. In other words, academics should not meddle in politics. It's quite a big issue in Hong Kong right now. Excuse me. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to move to the second proposer. Maybe you'll have some answers to that, Prof. Perry. You can unmute now, and your 5 minutes in proposition begins now.
Well, thank you very much for that. And as Janet said, it's a tough uphill task. So my name is Perry Hobson. I'm based at Sunway University here in Malaysia. And it's great to be invited onto this debate. And although we've seemed to have a head start, I'm someone who likes to take nothing for granted. After all, we sit in a complex world, and of course, these sorts of things have to be debated. And Kevin, I'd like to raise the quality of this debate and take us somewhere else, perhaps somewhere, a chamber where we've got the sort of environment, but perhaps the Oxford Debating Union, Mandy, I think, is a sort of place where we should aspire to be with these kind of questions and debates, because that's clearly more important. And of course, here we are with a rising tension between the US and China. And of course, I've invited a couple of my friends along tonight, because as an academic, I believe that academics can bring these sorts of people together to solve some of the problems we've got in the world. Now, I grew up in the Cold War. I remember Russia and America fighting off against one another. There was no contact between the universities at all. It was, after all, Republican President Reagan who asked the then President Gorbachev to tear down that wall, which he was able to do. And it was through bringing people together, and universities and intellectual were a key part of that. I mean, let us not forget that whilst my colleagues might suggest that it is nationalism that got us to various places, it's the other things that actually bring us together. For example, we might like to point out that it was the Russians who got us into space. It was the Americans who got us to the moon. But once you've torn down the flags and finished all the feel-good ceremonies, what happens afterwards? It was the academics coming together. It was the formation of the International Space Station, which has gone on for 20 years and has done that successfully without having been stopped. No boycotts, nothing. Over 20 years has been able to do that. So it's bringing together collaboration. It is bringing institutions together. Now, unfortunately, nations love to have national champions. We could call it the Ivy League in the United States. We can call it the Russell Group in the UK or the Group of 8 in Australia. But together, all of those 3 key national groupings are just 24 universities out of 25,000 that exist in the world. Their impact in terms of international is minor, although we are fixated with national champions. It is international collaboration, ladies and gentlemen, which brings countries together and helps to heal, to bring us together rather than pit us apart. Now, of course, some politicians love to bring us together, love to pit us apart. And of course, many politicians have made, dare I say, themselves quite famous for having done so. I can think of 1 or 2, but can't think of who comes to mind right now. I'm trying to remember what his name is. Anyway, after all, he did get fired from his job in Brussels, working for the London Times. But never mind, just because he was a bit careless with the truth, what can you expect of the odd politician? Because the reality is that we're bringing the European Union together, the Bologna process, which has brought 48 countries together, to be able to work together, whether it's been them or whether it's been the European Research Symposium, bringing those countries together. And those were things that were born out of the ashes. So whilst countries love to point again to national champions, and will do that again and again. So it might have been Lee Timothy, the founder of the internet, which was often spoken to, because he was a Brit. Well, actually, the way I read it is just an Englishman, not even a Brit. But of course, he was actually working for CERN, the international agency. And it was there that the World Wide Web was formed. So it was these international collaborations that brought us the World Wide Web, that have brought us together. So we have to put aside, because once we allow universities to become, dare I say, the national champions, which then get changed with a political agenda, it is by bringing international academics together. And of course, it's important. If we look at the world rankings, for example, what includes in the rankings? Well, it's number of international students, it's number of international faculty. You're voting 85% of it in some of the academic reputations based on people coming outside of your country. So if you don't build international collaboration, you can't be reached into those lofty goals, much criticized, of course, in the rankings, but nevertheless important to many people because it gives us that indication. So in conclusion, it is bringing together. It is the collaboration of universities coming together through international networks that we see. It is through being able to bring them together, whether it's creating CERN, the collider, which has helped us with particle physics. It has been that way that, ladies and gentlemen, we see international collaboration helps to solve the future problems that we will face. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. Very erudite. I'm now going to move, first of all, with an apology to Prof. Sandeep Gopalan, because I had you down on the sheet that was sent to me as Vice-Chancellor of Piedmont International University, but I understand you've rebranded and you're Vice-Chancellor of Carolina University in the USA. So my apologies for that and my corrections so that all participants are aware of the new brand and the name change. So without further ado, Prof. Sandeep, your 5 minutes in second opposition. You get the last word, begins now.
Thank you very much indeed, Kevin and Mandy, for the opportunity to participate in this debate. Now, all of you have been on a flight somewhere or the other, and obviously COVID has disrupted some of that. But if you recall, often when you're on a plane and you sat in your seat, you hear the captain comes on the intercom and says, "Oh, welcome to flight X to Paris. Now's a good time to check your ticket. And if a ticket says something other than Paris, now's the time to get off the plane." I mean, all of you have probably encountered some variation of this script. And so what happens there sometimes is you find a person frantically getting up from the seat and charging out of the door because they've realized that their ticket is actually to Timbuktu rather than Paris. In fact, what I find now is that the proposition are very much like that passenger. They have a valid ticket and they make valid points, but it's taking them to Timbuktu and not Paris. It's perfectly true and valid that inter-university or inter-higher education collaboration brings people together, creates friendships, creates great networks, and of course, occasionally creates great science or great research. But does it heal international geopolitical tensions? Absolutely not. Just as you cannot fly with a ticket to Timbuktu to Paris, you cannot make the leap from forging good collaborations or links between people to healing geopolitical tensions, because they're completely different. They go in completely different directions. They are two different journeys. The reasons are the following. It proceeds from a logical fallacy. Geopolitical tensions are constructed because of rivalries between states, and often between great power states. And great power interests are not a sum total of the interests or inclinations of the individual citizens. They're completely different. You can have people in two countries who love each other, but at the state level, the interests of the two states could be in rivalry and competition, regardless of how good the relationships or likes or dislikes of the people are. Classic case in point, and my good friend and rival Dr. Perry mentioned the Cold War. I mean, if you rewound the tape back from Reagan all the way to Eisenhower, who was the president who actually constructed the people-to-people contacts and the idea that scientists could be part of the outreach, etc. A cold, sober assessment of the scientific collaboration between the Soviet Union and the United States, authored by a person who was in a leadership position in the National Science Foundation for 20 plus years, concluded, and I quote or paraphrase, it had no impact on any of the meaningful interactions between the Soviet Union and the United States. The idea that the scientists or the academics working together influenced any of the foreign policy decisions of either the Soviet Union or the United States, according to this author, Gershon Scher, is a complete fallacy. That's number one. Number two, this is the golden age for higher education collaboration. Never before in human history have more scientists, more academics, and more students traveled across boundaries, collaborated with each other, etc. And yet, what do we have? We have extremely high global tensions. In the United States alone, in 2019, there were 370,000 Chinese students studying here. What is the result in US-China tensions? Zero. In fact, US-China tensions have risen with the proportion of Chinese students studying in this country. If you rewind the tape 20 years, the number of Chinese students in this country 20 years ago is a fraction of what it is today. The number of collaborations between US and Chinese institutions in 6 years has more than doubled. In 2012, the number of collaborations was about 4,500. In 2018, it's about 11,000. That's just inter-institutional collaborations. The number of scientific papers as collected by Nature Index, which is an index of the top 82 publications in the scientific area, more than doubled in the 6 years from 2012 to 2018, rising from 3,000 to about 5,000. So bottom line, the proposition makes a lot of valid and interesting and good sounding touchy-feely points, but it has no effect whatsoever on healing geopolitical tensions. Rather, they are very much like the great academic progenitor of a lot of us, Dr. Pangloss in Voltaire's Candida. Right? I mean, very optimistic, exuberant, but completely beside the point. So their points are well-sounded, valid, but much like a ticket to Timbuktu, it cannot help you get to the destination that they're seeking to get to. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Prof. Sandeep. So Prof. Sandeep, leaving you with the message, do you want to go to Paris or Timbuktu? Right now, being stuck in the UK, hoping to get back to Hong Kong on 12th of September. I don't want to go to either. I just want to get back before the autumn storms come here. So thank you very much, all four panelists. I think the level of debate was very, very good. I noted that one of our participants earlier pointed out that You're all very experienced and distinguished panelists. So I'd like to thank you all very much for taking part. Now, those attendees, you now have your opportunity to make your point. Remember, at the moment, the proposers are winning 91% to 9%. And there were only 22 votes, but I see we have 48 participants from around the world. In order to make your point, please do the click the raise hand icon, and I will come to you and allow you to speak. Well done, Syed Amir Gilani. I'm now going to allow you to talk 10 sentences once you've said where you're from and whether you're speaking for or against the motion. Okay, Syed, you're now open. You need to unmute your own microphone, but I've unmuted you from this end.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mandy, for inviting us. Thank you, Kevin, and thanks to all the speakers. It was a nice discussion. I would like to go with posers with Sandeep Gopalan. He talked about the Chinese who were having a lot of student flow from China to US, and a lot of money was coming. And due to these politics, I agree that there will be problems, and it is better to forget the politics, to have collaborations in higher education. This was my point.
Thank you very much, Syed. Very succinct, very clearly made. And if everyone makes the points like that, and they're all on the opposition side, I can see the opposition side catching up with the proposition. I've only got your hand raised at the moment. Can I ask others, please, who want to speak? Don't be shy. Do put your hand up. Syed has kicked us off very nicely, I think. Yes, Dr. Dian, you can't speak again. You put your hand up.
No, this is her colleague, Simon. Sorry, Kevin.
Say.
Kevin, this is her
it
colleague.
says Dr. Dian Ikawati.
She has a
right,
twin.
Okay. So she's got a plant here. Okay, I will allow the plant to speak. Another Dr. Dian, here you go. You can now speak. Hello? Yes. And I guess you're going to speak for the opposition.
Yes.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, I think a very good point has been made by Dr. Dian and also Vice Chancellor Sandeep Gopalan about we should mentioning about this geopolitical situation that supposed to be treated by academics the way they try to treat it as something that above their league, since it's also become an important task for this other academic collaboration to maintain its valuable collaboration despite this geopolitical situation that has been made by politicians. So we don't want to be dragged into this kind of political drama that eventually will ruin the morality, the base of collaboration itself. So it should be something that can be built by its own, and it's up to the academics itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dian. I'm still waiting for more hands to go up. While I'm waiting for more hands to go up, I'm just going to outline a possible argument here for people to also think about. Do we, as higher education leaders, do we have a responsibility to either stay completely remote and neutral from all political involvement, or do we equally or more have a responsibility to engage with political discussion where that political discussion threatens freedom of speech, which most of us uphold quite dearly? So anyone like to raise their hand to speak to that idea? Which side would you be on? These are very real issues. It's something that we're facing in Hong Kong right now. I'm quite certain the universities in Belarus are facing those sorts of issues. To what extent should universities remain remote and aloof from that so they can go about their business of academia, or who thinks they should get involved? Okay, Priya, thank you. I'm coming to you now, and I've allowed you to talk, Priya. Will others please raise their hands while Priya is speaking? Thank you.
Thank you. Higher education involves millennials. Millennials are right inside our society, right from Mahatma Gandhi to Jawaharlal Nehru, who actually spearheaded independence of India along with all other independence leaders of India. All of them, or most of them, had gone abroad, got ideas of freedom, non-violence from not just in India, but their ideas got strengthened because of their graduation outside. Even today, as I speak for Indian millennials, Greta Thunberg, who is a Swedish girl, because of our collaboration with European countries and because of online learning mediums, students are talking about culture and political situation. So I am definitely for, on the proposer's side, higher education cannot be away from political situation. How can fish live without the water? Are we living in a vacuum? Absolutely nonsense. So with all due respect, it is like saying that there is no oxygen in the air. We are living because of the oxygen. Higher education must collaborate. We are talking of future citizens of the world. Today's political environment is because of the past, us, our generation, who have exchanged ideas through these collaborations. My days, we used to write emails. Today, everything happens through WhatsApp and Zoom meetings. So
thank you, Priya.
I rest my case.
Very, very good points. Well made. I'm going to introduce another issue here to try and encourage participants to engage. Please don't be afraid to engage, but I have people that I count as friends, even brothers and sisters from around the world, collected during a long academic career. People of all colors, creeds, beliefs, and religions who I regard as really close friends and almost in some cases family. They've endured, for example, I can think of a few Malaysian friends that have been there since I was at school and now back in Malaysia, and some have retired and some are in very, very prominent positions. If I felt any of those people were being attacked on the basis of their beliefs, their race, their color, I would very, very strongly defend them, both as an academic and otherwise. However, I find myself wondering whether I would step into a political situation such as currently exists in Hong Kong, where perhaps it's better for academia to stay silent. Perhaps it's not. So Umar Kadir has put his hand up. So I'm going to go to Umar now and give him the opportunity to speak. I'm just unmuting now. Hang on. I'm asking you to unmute, Umar. For some reason, your hand up has not come on my screen. Can you put your hand up again, please? Umar Kadir. Well done, brilliant, thank you. You now have the microphone. Okay, Umar, can you speak? The microphone is open. Umair Kadir. I don't know whether you're trying to speak, but I've certainly clicked on allow to talk. Okay, while we try to get Umair, maybe Peter, you can try and find out what's happened there. Any other participants like to make a comment about any of the issues raised, either for or against the geopolitical divides? Patricia. Hi, Patricia. If you can unmute, you can now speak. Hi, Patricia. We seem to have a technical issue because they're unmuted. I've allowed to speak, and Patricia, can you hear me? Patricia? Patricia, if you can, it says we are unable to hear you. Best to type your question, Janet has said. And Umair, of course you can type your question. So people go to chat. Patricia and Umair are going to type their question. Peter, we seem to have some sort of technical problem. After Priya, I can't.
I have no idea why it's not working.
No.
I think, yes, if you have a question, I suppose just type it in the chat and then Kevin can read it out. And maybe also one or two of the panelists can comment on it. I leave that to you, Kevin.
Yeah, okay. And anyone else who wants to put their hand up, we'll see if we can get you online. I'm asking Patricia to unmute just in case. And Umair, I assume we still can't hear you for some reason. Okay, are you guys, are you typing your question? Any more hands up amongst the panelists? Okay, Tori, I see you're joining us. You were a panelist not so long ago. Do you have anything to say on this topic? Yeah, Umair has said there's some network problem, which is a great pity. We've not had that before. And okay, it's a shame. I've unmuted both Umair and Patricia. Patricia, she's made a point now. If universities have a main societal role, this is at local, national level, then they must engage with politics. But they need to find the best strategy for doing so effectively, as in Hong Kong. Patricia, I'm hoping you can hear me. I assume you can from the fact that you've answered the question. I think the problem is if universities do get involved in politics, is where is their mandate? Where is their jurisdiction? Who are they representing? Because the students will have a very wide range of views, the same as staff and governors and board of directors and so on. So who are they actually, who is their mandate? That's why I mentioned the issue about human rights and about people of different religion, different color, different creed, different belief systems deserving respect. And those that I know from many different cultures around the world who I regard as brothers and sisters almost, I would defend them to the hilt. But I somehow don't regard that as political. That's something deeply personal and about human rights. So Umair, I like your comment there. How will you evaluate political dialogues in this context? So does anyone have an answer to Umair? How do you evaluate political dialogues? I think that's very much the point I was just making, Umair. It's very hard, is it not, to decide who's mandating you? in circumstances where, as a higher education institution, you enter the arena of politics. Sometimes you have no choice. You get forced into the arena of politics. Or you say, well, we're academics, politicians. I'm going to go back because we're having trouble with getting attendees feedback, which is such a pity. I'm going to go back and give each of these speakers in reverse order, so starting with Prof. Sandeep, an opportunity to speak for just 2 minutes this time to summarize their argument before we do the final vote. So, Sandeep.
Okay, so it's important not to be confused. Universities operate in an environment of both domestic and geopolitical tensions. That does not mean that they can influence, much less heal, either domestic or geopolitical tensions. Number two, universities or higher education institutions more broadly have not been authorized or empowered to engage in this kind of diplomacy. They are creatures of the state. And often in many countries, universities are controlled by the state, either through funding or through direct means. And this is especially true in totalitarian institutions. In such countries, or even in others, it is folly to imagine that a university or a higher education institution can contradict or act in a way that's against the state's interests identified by its government. So if the state is determined to engage in geopolitical tensions with a rival, it is an absolute impossibility for a university or an institution in that country to contradict its government without paying a substantial price. Moving away from the institution, even at the individual academic level, it's impossible, if not at very high cost, for individual academics to seek to heal geopolitical tensions. Just go back to the Cold War again. Even at the highest ranked institution in this country, Harvard, there were academics who were targeted by the McCarthy hearings for anti-communist activities. If you remember, there were academics who were seen to be sympathetic to communist or socialist ideas and were engaging with compatriots in other countries who were targeted, silenced, intimidated because they were seen to be outside what the state wanted. Number four, to the extent that university activities impinge upon national security concerns, the ability of any university or institution to seek to heal geopolitical tensions is intrinsically limited. The government will just not allow you to access research or otherwise engage in those activities. Number four,
thank you, sir.
Academics itself is a part of competition. In other words, the creation of knowledge is part of geopolitical rivalry. So you cannot overcome that competition through collaboration. I'll stop there because of time.
Thank you, Sandeep. I think those points are well made. And as you were making them, Anna May Zerudo and Ume Kadir were kind of making similar points to that. So maybe there's a bit more support for the opposition to this than there were earlier. I'm now going to go to Professor Perry Hobson, who gets the second word as the proposer. Hi, Perry. You have 2 minutes, Perry.
All right. Okay. Well, look, I think it's very extreme, indeed, to say that there is no way that you can influence or heal. Now, you know, Humpty Dumpty falls off the wall every so often, and the reality is that universities are part of the infrastructure. Now, they're not going to be the single part necessarily, but they're a key part of that component of bringing people together across different national divides and those geopolitical divides. And I think the important point that's quite different today from what he was talking about with the Cold War is that, in fact, there's many, many more Chinese, for example, studying in the United States than there ever were Russians. And so the contacts that we've now got are much greater and much deeper than they were in the past. So one has to wonder how bad things would be had those things not been happening. Now, to say that we are creatures of the state, whilst there are, of course, regulations that come over in many countries, universities are not necessarily creatures of the state. In fact, they may actually be in opposition to the state. In fact, you can see that quite clearly with how students are always the ones who take to the streets first. And in fact, in many cases, the universities are the agents of change. That's why so many authoritarian governments are so wary about universities, because they want to be open and discuss and debate and bring in new ideas that contradict the existing ideas. So that's not to say that there is not a high price to be paid, but people pay that price. And if you look through the people who've achieved Nobel laureates and so forth, it's because they have brought people together. And it's maybe those informal contacts that become so important. Obviously, academics are not politicians. That's not their role necessarily in terms of grandstanding. It is, as with the networks that I mentioned and so forth, behind the scenes that bring people together, that keep the space station going, or
Thanks, Prof.
the
Perry.
various research points. All right, no worries.
Yeah, thank you very much. Again, I think, as with Sandeep, very good points. But we're going to let the ladies have the last word, our proposer and opposer. I'm going to begin with Dr. Dian Ekawati. So Dr. Dian, the microphone is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and it's very interesting to find differing ideas about this. I stand by the positions that I believe geopolitical divides cannot heal solely on the international collaborations amongst academics. I mean, like, yes, we do live in this kind like world that full of political intrigues and everything, but being an academics, I think we put so much efforts in understanding the phenomena that relates to our knowledge, and we use our freedom to collaborate with each other amongst us, free of national borders and everything. So I don't think that it is about healing or not healing, but I don't think that the idea of collaborations can be mixed with the intentions to heal the geopolitical divides. The thing is, what I believe was, while the collaborations can help, like minimizing or, like helping people around the world, but it doesn't necessarily, lessens the geopolitical divides among nations. Somehow the tensions between China and the US can be still on that side, despite the academic collaborations, and then even like between different countries that I might not be able to speak about at the moment. But again, I do believe that we continue ourselves as an academics, and we collaborate between us as an academics and also as an international collaborators with the global engagement things. And that's by at the end of the time, we remain to be neutral for the academics, and then not mingling ourselves with the political issues, while
Thank you,
we just cannot say
Dr.
no to
Dian.
that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you make a very good point. I think it's the informal friendships, networks, and chemistry between academics from around the world that overcome not just political barriers, but all potential barriers. And I think that was the point I was trying to make earlier, which I think you made much more eloquently than I was able to. Now, last but not least, before we go to the final vote, Dr. Janet Ilieva, you have the last word. You have 2 minutes for those last words.
Thank you, Kevin. I guess no pressure on me whatsoever. I would like to start my argument picking on Sandeep's key point about the flights to Timbuktu and Paris, and also the distinction that Sandeep, you introduced about the differences between the views of citizens and those of the states, and the importance of the latter. But many countries are democratic, and when we see a huge divergence between what the state believes is the truth or is a priority from those of its citizens, they'll get re-elected, they'll get kicked out. I mean, that's my only hope, that there is democracy and we all have our democratic right to show them what we think about them. So with that in mind, I shall go into kind of my second point here, and this is the role of citizenship and the value-driven proposition. What is the key or the core function of university? And it is, I believe, the pursuit of the truth. And it is to present the facts, it is to present the evidence, it is to make a clear and loud argument about which side they are on, or what is the thought or side of the truth. And I have to admit that maybe I'm a little bit stubborn on that one. And I won't be I refuse to be persuaded otherwise, because I do believe that now more than ever, academia has a massive challenge to tackle disinformation, and especially with the rise of the social media and various microsites and targeted marketing, there is a huge task for all of us to make the evidence and the truth speak very, very loudly. And if it is not for the university, who else is out there to give voice to the truth? So I do believe this is our core mission. And probably without probably directly answering Kevin's challenge around which side do universities engage in a political debate, I think our role as educators is to basically support the truth, give voice to the truth, and make this argument as clear and loud as we can possibly do.
Thank you.
I guess a very 10 seconds, if I may.
Okay, go on.
Oh, thank you. I shall end up on a note that many much greater people than we believe, and it is our choice what we focus on. The things that unite us, which I believe are much, much greater, like many other people before me believed, or choose to focus on the things that divide us. And I shall leave the vote to the audience.
Of course you will, Janet. That's democracy. Okay, I'm now going to remind you that the proposers had a 91% share of the vote last time, and the opposers, who've argued very eloquently, had a 9% share of the vote. Let's see how open-minded you all are. I'm now going to relaunch the polling to see if that changes. You have 1 minute to vote from now. So far, we have 100% disagree. That's only 3. Now it's starting to balance up. 44% agree, 54% agree, 50% agree. This is very interesting. I'm glad to see people are still listening, and so sorry about the technical issues. Maybe because we're discussing politics, it was bound to attract scrutiny, perhaps. If so, given where I live at the moment, it's probably me. So if I suddenly disappear in a couple of weeks when I go back to Hong Kong, then, you know, I've upset somebody. Although I'm sure some people would be very happy if I disappeared. So we have 61% agreeing. Come on, guys, there's only 23 voters so far out of 36. Come on, the rest of you are just being lurkers. How about you hit a radio button? Who do you think spoke most eloquently, the proposers or the opposers? If you can't decide which way you go, ooh, very good. So, all right, I'm going to give you another 10 seconds, and then I'm going to end the polling and share the results. Okay, I'm ending the polling now, and I'm going to share it with you all. We have 65% agreeing, 35% disagreeing. So although the proposers win, I have to say it's a hollow victory in some ways, given it was the opposers that managed to persuade most people to change their minds. So congratulations to all the panelists. I'm going to stop sharing the results now. They went from 91% agreeing to 65% agreeing, 9% disagreeing to 35% disagreeing. So first of all, I'd like to say a very warm thank you to all of my colleagues, panelists, and those of you that wrote or spoke. And some of you, Clay Hensley's just written saying, thoroughly enjoyed this discussion. Thank you all. I'm really pleased. It was a very high level discussion. I'm so sorry about the technical issues. I have no idea, being a bit of a dinosaur when it comes to these sorts of things, what that's about, but I'm sure Mandy and Peter will get to the bottom of it at some stage. Now, very shortly, I'm going to hand back control to Applied HE. I'm going to take my leave of you, say goodbye, but I want you all to hold on because there's a bit of a social event afterwards with Mandy and Applied HE. So I'm just trying to find how I hand control back to Peter. Peter, I've gone to attendees. I've gone to me as host. I've clicked on more.
No, click on me and make me host. Applied HE.
Ah, that's okay then. Right, more. Make you the host. Okay, I'm now making Peter the host. Goodbye to everyone, wherever you are. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope you join us at the next debate. I've now made Peter host.
Okay, yes, you have. Very good. You can log out. Otherwise, if you log out, we're all down. So that's a problem. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, go ahead, Mandy, with your closing speech. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Right. Thanks again to our wonderful debaters and debate master for their fantastic contribution. It's always a delight to listen to you and also to our audience members from around the world who have made their voices heard. Thanks also to our sponsors, the City University of Hong Kong and Universitas Airlangga of Indonesia, for their valuable support. The next Squaring the Circle debate is scheduled for next month on Wednesday, 7th of October at 9 p.m. Singapore time. Next month's debate motion is so-called soft skills are more crucial than subject knowledge. So be sure to join our speakers, Ramatu, Anil, Grace, and Dawn, and debate master Kevin Downing on Wednesday, 7th October at 9 p.m. Singapore time. In fact, there is a Squaring the Circle debate every first Wednesday of the month for the rest of this year, so please mark your diaries. But there is no need to wait until next month's Squaring the Circle debate for more Applied HE webinars. Next week, on the 9th of September, we have the Applied HE Exchange on Higher Education Consortia, which starts at 9 p.m. Singapore time. We have 3 higher education consortia coming together from 3 different parts of the world. The Asian Cooperation Dialogue University Network from Asia, CONAHAG from North America, and the Compostela Group from Europe. And the speakers are none other than the leaders of the respective consortia itself. Joining us as guest speaker is Professor Maurits van Rooyen, and this event will focus on the role of higher education consortia during a pandemic. So if you are involved or interested in consortia, be sure to attend this very special edition. And moderating the event is Professor Judith Lamy, Managing Director of JL Education Consultants from the UK. And 2 weeks from now is another regular event, session 4 of our Fireside Chat series. The topic of session 4 is supporting men in taking up family duties. Supported by Education Insight and Hasanuddin University of Indonesia, the Fireside Chats are a discussion-focused webinar series that bring a globally diverse group of experts to weigh in on an important current topic. Mrs. Winnie Ely, partner of Education Insight from the UK, is our moderator, and we have 4 very distinguished speakers from Ireland, Australia, Ghana, and Indonesia to provide that global perspective. The Fireside Chat is held on every 3rd Wednesday of the month, with the next edition scheduled on 16 September at 9 p.m. Singapore time. This slide shows you the future dates for our series of Fireside Chat, and like the Squaring the Circle debate, it will go on to the end of the year. And we have one more special webinar in September under our events brand Applied HE Exchange. And this webinar focuses on professional higher education. If you want to learn more about the innovations taking place in skills-based education, join our inaugural professional higher education webinar on the 22nd and 23rd of September at our usual time slot of 9 p.m. Singapore time. This special two-part webinar will address the question of the digitization of skills-based education. On Tuesday, 22nd at 9 p.m. Singapore time, we cover the policy perspective with speakers from Sri Lanka, Germany, Malaysia, and the Philippines. And on Wednesday, 23rd September, also at 9 p.m. Singapore time, we have the practitioner perspective with speakers from Thailand, Kenya, Singapore, Indonesia, and Germany. The moderator will be our always charming Mrs. Winnie Ely, who's also the moderator for our series of fireside chats. But do not worry if you don't remember all the dates. We will be sending you our weekly emailers, or you can visit our website, appliedhe.com. In the meantime, do check out our Applied HE Extra News website, where you can submit your institution's news and press releases. A piece of good news to share is, if you have not heard about it yet, we are pleased to announce that Applied HE Extra News is now indexed by Google News. This means our readership is growing rapidly, and we can now truly promote you on the global stage and at no charge at all. This is great news for both readers and institutions who publish news via the Applied HE online news platform. Also, take a look at our Applied HE Job Ready rating. The new rating system emphasizes teaching and learning, graduate skills, employability, and interaction with industry. The rating is also non-prescriptive and can be applied to different types of institutions across different sectors, from full-fledged research universities to specialized institutions. Please drop us a line if you would like to learn more about the Job Ready ratings and how it can translate into affordable strategies for global branding and marketing. We're also in the process of launching a pilot to evaluate English as a medium of instruction, whereby we measure the quality and depth of an institution's English language programs. Especially for institutions from non-English speaking countries, which offer English language degree programs, the Applied HE EMI Ready rating can be a useful internal benchmarking tool and a great marketing tool to recruit international students. Do reach out to us if you would like to join the pilot. It's free, and we still have some open places for certain countries. And finally, I'm pleased to announce that we will be launching Applied HE's own social media platform called Applied HE Future on the 1st of January of next year. A trusted social media inspired platform that connects everyone from high school to professional career and lifelong learning for the 3 E's: education, employment, and everything in between. So watch out for our pre-launch emailers, which we will be sending out next month. And last but not least, as you know, we are the new kid on the block, and we're very grateful for all the support that we can get, which is why I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge once again all our very supportive webinar partners: City University of Hong Kong, Universitas Airlangga of Indonesia, Universitas Hasanuddin of Indonesia, the University of Lahore of Pakistan, Chinese Cultural University of Taiwan, Changzhou Christian University of Taiwan, Pearl Academy of India, and Education Insight UK. A big thank you for the valuable support given to Applied HE. Thank you so much. All right, thanks very much, everyone. However, the evening is not over yet, so please do not leave. We want you to experience a networking atmosphere that's as creative and as close as we can get to a physical networking environment. So we're going to open the room now. So that we can all take a Wi-Fi together. Pretend you're in the room together. Just use your imagination, all right? Please be sure to turn on your cameras. We'll play some music, have a drink, relax. The room is all yours. Over to you now, Peter, to get the social event started.
All right, everybody. Yes, please go ahead and turn on your video camera so that we can see your smiles and everything. And then I will turn on the music, I believe now. Yeah, this works. Very good. All right, wonderful to see so many of you. Sorry for the technical details. I think some people must have
Peter,
also
can you speak up?
in. Ah, right. Sorry also for the technical. Today it's just bad luck for technical. Is it Friday the 13th? No, it's September, Wednesday the 2nd. But having a bit of bad luck. But yes, some of you, your cameras are working, so that's fantastic. Do you want to shout out some of you where you're joining us from? Or I don't know. I see Blandina. He's wearing a hat. It must be very cold. Okay, you're muted. You're muted. Okay, let me click ask to unmute.
Okay, shout out from South Africa. It's very cold today. Very, very cold.
Okay, okay. I see. And Clay, where are you joining us from? Because I see your screen right next to Blandina.
Joining from Brooklyn, New York.
Ah, okay. So yes, also breakfast time. Fantastic.
Yes.
That's good. That's good.
Lovely.
And lunchtime in South Africa, breakfast in Brooklyn, and then yes, I think a late night dinner here in Kuala Lumpur. All right. Anybody else want to turn on? I see Barira Said. Where are you joining us from? Oh, I think the light just went off. Well, in any case, thanks to all of you for joining us, and also especially to the proposers and the opposers and their fantastic arguments. I don't know what part do we talk? Barry, what are you going to do after this?
Well, actually, I'm going to go and have some dinner because I was a bit delayed. My whole day has been, Clay's going to have breakfast or a very late brunch maybe for him. But I've got, my whole day would have been skewy today. I was on, I've been on, this is the third web session I've been on today. So I had to do, I was on one this afternoon, which was doing, I run a thing called 30 Minutes every week. Which we're doing it this afternoon. Then I had to go to the UK for another webinar on teaching in Austria. And that got delayed, unfortunately. We had some technical issues on that one as well. So it's not just you and Zoom, by the way. Teams also doesn't seem to work very well either. So it doesn't matter what technology you've got, you're going to get a screw up. And so I was very pleased to be able to join you, Mandy, and the rest of the HE team this evening.
Okay, thank you so much. What about you, Diane? You're also one of our last debaters standing. What are you going to do after this?
I'm going to have some dinner.
Okay. I would like to join you. So we're close enough.
Please come. Yeah, I mean, like I've been sitting for 2 hours. I mean, like I'm just trying to make everything ready, the setting and everything. So yeah, now I will have ramen to eat, and then let's see some works, and let's off to bed.
You sounded really, really well prepared, Diane. Or did you write a paper about this topic previously?
It's actually part of my, I told you, like my background is about the inter-organizational collaborations. So
right,
politics and power will be part of the discussions. And also I got help from many people.
You got all your friends to pitch in ideas.
No, I mean, like because this is actually part of our works, and we have to maintain the collaborations and everything. But again and again, you know, like even though we have those kind of like ideal thought about everything, I know that at some points we have to be pragmatic on, you know, like on certain agendas. But on these occasions, I think I would like to invite everyone to collaborate, and I would be very happy to receive any of your emails or comments. And of course, if there's anyone interested to collaborate with Universitas Airlangga, I will be very happy to assist that. Thank you.
Yeah, write your email address in the chat. That goes for everybody.
Right, I did.
Or something.
Yeah, I mean, like I will have to write it again.
Sorry, you were saying, Perry? Or
no, I was just going to say she'd written it in the chat. So you know, I think it's a really good opportunity for people to network and be part of these sort of collaborations. It's very hard, and everyone's getting used to trying to do this all virtually rather than in a room. So, but I think it's a great idea because COVID has obviously stopped so much international travel. You know, the API International Education Conference has been postponed not to 2021, but now 2022.
Wow.
So, you know, for a lot of us, it means a lot of connectivity has been lost at the moment around around the world, not just around Asia. So, very sad.
Okay, so happy that we could offer a little bit of a platform to reconnect.
Mm.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think because it is a bit of a small party, we will let you go. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will be back next week with another one of these, so you can all come then, bring your drinks and enjoy then. So next week we have we have what is the exchange on consortia, which is also about collaboration. So you can ask them a little bit about that. University consortia. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a very good evening, morning, lunch, or whatever time of day it is. And see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you very
Mandy.
much.
Thank you so much.